for episode 71.
Welcome to Aviation Marketing Hangar Flying, episode number 71, Adwords and Pay-Per-Click for Aviation Marketing. So I'm Paula Williams.
I'm John Williams.
And we are ABCI, and ABCI's mission is
to help all you folks out there in the aviation world sell more products and services.
Absolutely. So if you want to reply to this or discuss any of these topics, you can use our blog for comments and things like that. Or you can use the hashtag AvGeekMarketing, AVGeekMarketing. And we will reply to every tweet and make sure we get you answers to your questions. And hopefully we love to hear what you have in mind because everybody has different ideas, and especially about new technology. There's always stuff that we don't know. So make sure you let us know, right?
Nah, stuff we don't know, you got to be kidding.
It could happen. It's moving so fast, right? In fact, this is going to be, this is why I hesitate to do topics like this, because we know it's going to be out of date like a week after we record it. But we think there's enough going on that it's worth talking about, right?
Oh, yeah, this kind of stuff. Google changes stuff daily, and the big stuff they change monthly or quarterly. So.
Exactly. So, but the big ideas are actually pretty similar. And the big ideas, I think, are useful no matter when you're listening to this, if this is this week or a week from now or 3 weeks from now or 3 months from now. AdWords and other pay-per-click without a plan is gambling, and gambling badly, right?
Yeah, and you don't even get house odds. They do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But AdWords with a plan can be worth it, depending on the circumstance.
Yes, it can.
Right, and we'll talk
about... A good
about...
plan.
Yeah, and we'll talk about some of the differences between a good plan and a bad plan.
A good meaning one that's well thought through.
And no plan, which is what most people do.
Yep.
Right. Much. Okay, and then the other thing is your plan might actually be lead generation, or the objective of your plan might be lead generation, or it might be data collection. But in either case, you need to know what you're doing, right?
And we can help you figure that out.
Exactly. Okay, so let's start out with what can possibly go wrong.
Well, what can possibly go wrong in a poker game?
Right.
And those are the house's cards there, not yours.
Exactly. So AdWords is gambling. Even if you're doing it right, you are still gambling. You're just improving your odds. So, of the people that see your ads, are they the right people? And of the people that see your ads
that are the right people,
how many of them are clicking on your ads? And of the people that see your ads are the right people, click on your ads and go to your website, how many of them take the next step with you, which would be to fill out some kind of a form or give you their contact information so that you can proceed with the sales process, right?
Versus how many of them just bounce out.
Right. So, if you're doing lead collection, it's gambling, each of those steps. There's going to be some people that are not the right folks. There's going to be some people that don't click on your ads. There's going to be some people that click on your ads and don't fill out the form. There's going to be some 14-year-olds who are completely unqualified for your product or service that fill out your form. That's just the nature
of the beast.
Of the beast, right. And you're paying for all those things. So...
Yes, you are.
Right. Whether they work or not, some percentage is going to be useful to you and some percentage is not. And that's why we call it gambling. But basically what we're doing is we're improving our odds. And we actually used the book, Perry Marshall's 80/20 Sales and Marketing book, last year when we talked about AdWords. Perry Marshall being somebody that's been in AdWords for a really long time for business-to-business companies. And in the book, they actually have a pretty good plan for testing with AdWords and for getting started with AdWords. And I think that's still a really good place to start. A lot of people say that it is dated, and it is. But I think it's a much better place to start than simply winging it with AdWords.
Yes.
Right. So, it's one of those things that if you're going to be playing this game, you really need to spend the time to get good at it.
Know the rules and play it well.
Right, exactly. And the other thing that you really want to do is you want to watch the data. So I have on my iPad the AdWords app. So, I'm watching the ads for us and for our clients pretty much every day, pretty obsessively. It's almost like day trading, right?
Actually,
Or
that's
online
probably
gambling.
a pretty close approximation.
Right. It is kind of an addiction. And if you have an addictive personality, this might work for you. But you really want to watch your numbers. And, if you find that things are changing or if you find that things are not going your way, some of the things that we look at when we look at our data are, which of our ads are performing the best, which of our ads are performing the worst. And if you're seeing this in video, I've got some data on the screen from one of our client contracts, with their permission, of course. And you can see that we're paying anywhere from $1.04 to 91 cents per click for these particular ads and these particular ad groups. And then I could go into more detail and see which keywords are getting us the best and the worst conversion, which headlines are getting us the best and the worst conversion, and so on. And you want to be always eliminating the ones that are costing you the most. So that $1.04, we used to have some that were in the $3 range in this campaign. We got rid of them because they weren't performing as well as our others. So we get rid of them. We replace them with ones that do work better, and we're always testing to see if we can make that better.
And actually, I thought that those were astronomical prices for pay-per-click. Mm-hmm. However, we have a client or previous client or two that we know about who are spending $3,500 to $4,500 a month in ads rather than doing marketing, and they are not doing so well.
Right. It is not hard, especially with some of the really competitive keywords, to pay, $12, $13 a click. And, if your ratios are good enough, again, this is a lot like going to Las Vegas.
Well, and you have to look, because I've seen in our research for what the clicks cost on some keywords, I don't remember what it was, but it's $468 a click.
Yeah, those are for some of the really competitive keywords, and I'd recommend staying away from those. This is just like, when you go to Las Vegas for the first time, you want to play the nickel tables to start with, right? So you want to find some keywords that aren't quite so competitive until you learn to play the game. And, watch your numbers, see if you can improve your headlines, improve your ads, improve your quality scores until you can improve those ratios and make sure that you can sell enough to cover your bills, right?
You sound like a long-term gambler. They don't have nickel tables. That'd be the $5 tables.
Okay, fine. But still, you want to start with the low risk bets.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to go sit down your first time in Vegas in the high stakes tables, where they bring you cocktails and have the rarefied air and the billionaires. You don't want to be plunking down millions of dollars your first shot at AdWords. You want to play the nickel tables for a while, or the $5 tables, whatever you want to call them. Mm-hmm. In this case, we're playing the dollar tables, right? Mm-hmm. And we get better at it, and we get to the point where we know how many sales we can make for each click. So, if it takes us, well, we'll get into the details of that in just a minute in the math. But if math isn't your thing, this is not where you want to play, right? And if being detail-oriented and being on top of the data is not where you want to be, then if that's not your thing, this is not the game for you.
No, not at all.
Right? Okay. So things that you can test when you're doing AdWords. You want to have 3 or 4 of each of these things that you're testing pretty much all the time. So you want to eliminate the worst one and replace it with a better one every single time. So there's 3 or 4 that you're testing at any given time. So you may have 3 or 4 different versions of the same ad with different keywords. 3 or 4 versions of the same ad with different headlines. 3 or 4 versions of the same ad with different ad copy, and 3 or 4 versions of the same ad with a different offer. And you can use the plan in the 80/20 book to kind of do the math so that you're doing this sequentially. So test your keywords first, headline second, ad copy third, offer fourth, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then, as things improve, you're spending less money for better odds.
And if they don't improve, you know to go the other direction.
Exactly. Well, if you're testing 3 or 4 and you're eliminating the worst all the time and keeping the best, they're going to improve.
That's right, unless
Right.
something clicks that you don't realize.
Yeah, sometimes you're going to test something.
Because you can get all the way to the end and change something, and all of a sudden it goes to the bottom.
Right, and even if it's something, sometimes it's not something that you changed, but it's something that changed in the market.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden your AdWords tank. You need to be on top of that and see it the day that it happens instead of a month later after you paid a lot of money. And
Been there and done all that.
yeah. Okay, so this is kind of the math that we're looking at when we're doing AdWords. So let's say that our leads cost $1.04, which is kind of the high end of that campaign that I was showing you before. And let's say that we know we can convert 1 out of 30 of each of those leads into at least an appointment. And then of those leads, of course, we may have another line here of we know 1 in 10 of the people that make appointments we can convert to a $65,000 sale. So we're still money ahead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you can say, a $14 click is outrageous, but, if what you're selling is a high ticket item and your close ratio is good enough, you can do that all day long, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So what this means is you have to know the numbers so you know if you're winning or losing at any given time, right?
Yep.
Okay. So, and John, you're the math guy. What do you think of these odds?
Well, once you've got it down to where you know what's going on, the odds aren't odds anymore. Then you can assign probabilities, and if you want to play really interesting math games, and then see if you can follow through on it.
Absolutely. But you still want to be on top of it because even once you know these numbers, it is still a moving target because all of a sudden you might have a bunch of competitors jump in and raise the price of your bids. You might have...
And even if they don't,
Yeah.
you can bet your bottom dollar that Google's going to change something.
Google's going to change an algorithm and, maybe change your quality score because of a new rule that they come up with. There's lots of things that can change that will change one or more of these numbers. So it's really important to know what is your lead cost, what is your conversion rate, and what is your profit from each conversion.
And then after all that, you need to have somebody or yourself got to keep up to speed with what Google is putting out.
Exactly. That's absolutely right. Okay, so that's lead generation, and the math on that is simple. I'm not going to say easy because math for me is not easy. But it's fairly simple. Once you get your numbers down, then you have a feel for how you're doing, whether you're winning or losing, right?
And don't believe her about it not being easy for her. She got a better score in the essay or the GMAT than I did.
Only after a lot of study, and you took it cold, so. But still, we get where we need to get doing what we need to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So another way that you can use AdWords, and that actually is really good for this, is if you're going to spend some money on printing or on placing an advertisement, right? It is a great way to test keywords, headlines, ad copy, and all of those other things cheaply. So, let's say you're going to place an ad in a magazine and the ad contract is, thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars. It's worth spending, $50 or $100 or something like that to run some tests in AdWords and see which headline performs better. Right?
Of course. You just part of it.
Right.
You really can't do without it.
So you follow the same process that we outlined before. You want to test your keywords first, your headline second, your ad copy third, and your offer fourth. And then once you get those all improved as much as you think you can, then you're in a much better place to spend thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars on your magazine ad, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that would be true of, let's say, you're going to get a bunch of brochures or postcards printed, or you're going to place an advertisement in a magazine, or you're going to publish a book. I don't know if you remember Tim Ferriss. He wrote The 4-Hour Workweek. The way he figured out the title for that is by testing a bunch of titles in Google Adwords. And he figured out what was going to be the best selling title, because book titles are incredibly important, right?
Yes.
So, he tested a number of different titles and came up with the best one using Google AdWords before he decided on a title for his book and gave that to his publisher. And then the last thing is before you pay for search engine optimization, because you can pay, hundreds of dollars a month for search engine optimization. Our search engine optimization program is a couple $100, actually several $100 a month. I think it starts at $979 a month. So, and it's very much worth doing search engine optimization before you do pay-per-click if you can. But if you're just starting out, you may want to reverse that and spend, $50, $100 on some AdWords. And figure out what keywords you want to be optimizing for, right?
Yep.
So we actually include that in our search engine optimization program just to make sure that we're getting the right keywords for you. We do our best guesses, and then we run some ads to test those hypotheses before we devote a lot of energy to search engine optimization. But it's kind of like a cycle, you get your keywords right with pay-per-click, and then you do your search engine optimization, and then your pay-per-click ads become much less expensive because you get a better quality score from Google. So maybe I should take a minute and explain how that works. Even the paid ads on Google, they don't want to just serve any old ads, because Google makes their money, with people using their search engine. People are more likely to use their search engine if it's serving high quality, relevant ads. So they want to make sure that no matter how much you want to pay for an ad, you can't buy an ad on a page that is not relevant for. So they give you a quality score, and say, your site is of this quality. And then they'll charge you less for ads. They'll give you a discounted rate based on the quality of your site. So the better your search engine optimization is, the less you're going to pay for pay-per-click ads. So a lot of people think, I don't need to do search engine optimization. I'm doing pay-per-click, right? Wrong-o. Search engine optimization will actually reduce the rates that you pay for pay-per-click by a whole lot, because they want to be serving really high-quality sites, and the way that you have a high quality site is by doing search engine optimization and having great content on your site, right?
Chicken and egg.
Chicken and egg, absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about how to fail at AdWords, some of the things that can go wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one is the set and forget method, the Ron Popeil and the whatever that was called, the chicken in the kitchen appliance that you could just set it and forget it, right?
Yeah, well, you don't do that here, because it'll cost you a bundle of money and you won't get anything out of it.
Exactly. So, setting and forgetting, anybody that recommends that you just set up your keywords or you set up your AdWords and then you look at it once a month or something like that, they're out of their mind. You definitely want to make sure that you're installing the AdWords app and watching that every day, or make sure that the people who are doing this for you are watching that every day and letting you know if there's anything happening that needs to be changed or different or anything like that. Okay. The second way to fail at AdWords is by guessing without testing. So you think these are the keywords that you should be using, and you just set them up and think that you're in good shape.
What does this mean? You think they are.
Exactly. Well, you're in the business of selling widgets, so
Yeah,
you say.
Beside the point. If you just think what these people are going to use for keywords, this was my whole, when we first started way back when, this was my whole, how do you know what they're using for keywords?
Right.
Why do you know what they're going to use for keyword? How do you know what they're going to search for? Because that's whatever they search for is what you want as a keyword.
Absolutely. In fact, when we started our company, when we started ABCI, we thought we were in the business of aviation copywriting. As it turns out, nobody knew what aviation copywriting was, even John. He was not really understanding what that word meant. And, a lot of people in aviation don't really use that word as much as they do in the finance industry or the education industry or other places where sales copywriting is a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we had advertised for aviation copywriting, even though that was the most specific way of calling what we did at that time, it wouldn't have gotten
Off the ground.
off the ground. So we ended up doing aviation marketing. And then, as it turns out, we also have to do very specific words like aviation AdWords, aviation hashtags, aviation trade shows, other kinds of things that are a lot more specific because we know from testing that that's what people are actually looking for, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what can happen if you do either of those things is that you can set up your AdWords with, a $5 or $10 a day budget or, whatever budget you set up. It seems like, oh, this is no big deal. We can do $5 or $10 a day. No problem, right?
$10 a day is $300 a month, and you don't get anything out of it. That's throwing money away.
Absolutely. Or $25 a day or whatever budget you set. It may not seem like much, but then when you get the bill at the end of the month, it can be kind of shocking. And John gets the bill and says, Paula, what are we doing with AdWords with this company? And if it's working and, if you are covering that with good odds.
A sale every month, then okay.
Right, absolutely. Or the amount of sales that you need in order to make that worth it, then that's fantastic. And if you know that that takes X number of months from the time they see the ad to get through your sales process, but you've followed the numbers all the way through, you're still good.
Yep.
But if you're not following the numbers, you can really be surprised and really do yourself some damage, right? Okay, so next steps. We've got two programs that we do where we do AdWords for people. And one of them I already told you about. That's our search engine optimization program, where we actually do a little bit of testing, where we talked about AdWords for data collection. We do that a little bit at the beginning of our search engine optimization program. And our search engine optimization program is basically we have a basic, moderate, and competitive rate. So depending on what kind of a business you are and what your competitors are doing, if you're a flight school or something like that, then it's a lot more competitive because all of those folks are in Google AdWords competing for the same keywords. But if you're in a field where not very many people are using AdWords, then it's going to be a lot less expensive for you to do search engine optimization. And we can give you a quote on that if you're interested. The other thing that we offer is what we call digital marketing. And what that includes is we set up company profiles on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And then we also do what we call retargeting. And we will also set up your Google AdWords for you and monitor that for you.
Note that she said company profiles, not personal.
Exactly. So it's basically our digital marketing program is visibility for you online using all of those things, including retargeting, social media, and AdWords. So we'll set it up for you. We don't pay the fees for the ads themselves, but we do our darndest to get you the best rates that we can, and we give you reports as often as you like, and we also help you set up your Google AdWords account so you can see how that's going for you and which words, which headlines, and which copy is doing the best for you, and we walk you through that whole process. Make sense?
Precisely.
Okay, so that's actually a really good way to make this less risky if you're getting into it for the first time, is to go in with a guide and see how that works. So big ideas for this month. Once again, AdWords and other pay-per-click programs without a plan is the same as gambling badly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. AdWords with the plan can be very much worth it. Once again, it's quick, it's effective. You can get people to an event or do something that requires you to advertise quickly, things like that. You can start today, basically, and have your ads out there by the end of the day. It's probably the fastest form of advertising that I've ever seen. But your plan might be lead generation or data collection, but you need to know what you're doing if you want to be successful in either case, right?
Yep.
Okay. So worth it, but have a plan or have a guide or both.
And follow the plan and or guide.
Right. This does take some self-discipline. It's like gambling, like we said. If you have one of those addictive personalities or something like that, in fact, one of our clients, I used to say that they really got into the sugar rush of Adwords. And we had this conversation every month. They really liked seeing those numbers go up on their Google Analytics and other kinds of things. But we had to talk them down from that every single month and say, okay, now how many sales are we actually getting from this? Maybe we should redirect some of the money from Google AdWords into something else until we get this under control, because this is not sales. This is just numbers at this point. So until we follow the numbers all the way through, it takes some discipline to do this right?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So go sell more stuff.
America needs the business.
Right. That's Zig Ziglar. Our buddy said that best. So subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play. And please do leave us a review. And also, please do leave us your comments. What experiences have you had, adventures or misadventures, on Google AdWords? We'd love to hear about it. Talk to you soon.
Ciao. You